Everyone wants to know what happened to their youngest sister, the Black Dragon. The Black Dragon Zaka under normal conditions cannot be the same as they saw on the first and second floors. Black Dragon Zaka, entangled by endless darkness, certainly has the unparalleled power that can even completely overwhelm the Three Dragons Alliance, but the feeling of that power has been out of control. No matter Desert Dragon Zaka, Ice Dragon Zaka or Red Dragon Zaka, it is impossible to lose control of their own exclusive god weapon, because their exclusive god weapon is the fantasy god weapon tailored for them by the great original Dragon Mother. The Star of the Sand in Desert Dragon Zaka's hands. Force Dragon T in Ice Dragon Zaka's hands. The Meteorite Core in Red Dragon Zaka's hands. And Black Dragon Zaka's Nightmare Heart, which is a god weapon that can be used to kill gods. Among the four sisters of Zaka, it's the only original god weapon that can do damage to gods. The Dream of Mother. I can't resist. Black Dragon Zaka chewed Yunshi's bread, her body trembled slightly, showing a confused expression. This is the Black Dragon Zaka that Desert Dragon Zaka, Ice Dragon Zaka, and Red Dragon Zaka know. Among the four sisters of Zaka, Black Dragon Zaka is the quietest. Desert Dragon Zaka has a wild and unbridled temperament. Ice Dragon Zaka has a cold and slightly poisonous temperament. Red Dragon Zaka is a representative of enthusiasm. The last Black Dragon Zaka is a silent and mysterious existence, but it is not indifferent, she doesn't know how to get along with others. Her speechless is not silent, but is good at doing her own work silently. She has the strongest power among the four sisters of Zaka, but she is the quietest sister. It is hard to imagine that such a girl would show the madness before. This is definitely not the sister that Desert Dragon Zaka knows. The battle is not over yet. After almost eating Yunshi's golden bread and butter, Black Dragon Zaka pressed her forehead. Even the power of ancient gods can't quell the nightmare of mother. To win, I need to take the most important thing from my mother. Shaking her body, Black Dragon Zaka walked up to Yunshi, hugged him, stood on tiptoe and whispered in his ear, "Only you can do it. When you see hope, take it away. That's also the wish of my mother." Subsequently, the mermaid body of Black Dragon Zaka, like other mermaid girls, turned into countless foam and disappeared into the arms of Yunshi. There is a black mask mark on Yunshi's wrist. Good night, big brother. Together with Black Dragon Zaka, there was Miu Miu, a silver mermaid who stole another perfect quality bread from Yunshi and showed a full expression of enjoyment. She stretched and hugged Yunshi comfortably, then waved to him, "Bye. What a sweet dream tonight." In the silver white foam, Miu Miu's mermaid avatar also disappeared in front of Yunshi. Her mark is a circle, a silver circle. Chapter 824, Farewell of the Queen of Assyria. Yunshi looked up at the Queen of Assyria, her first and second princess, and naturally understood why Black Dragon Zaka appeared in the royal city of Assyria as a mermaid. Mermaid game is the fantasy of the Queen of Assyria and a memory beyond time. The ability to pull Black Dragon Zaka into the mermaid game, limit most of her strength, and give her a mermaid posture is undoubtedly a feat accomplished by the Queen of Assyria with the help of ancient gods. And all this is for him. They gave him the best blessing and the strongest help. However, they also paid a huge price for this. It is not the dead who will sleep forever. In the wonderful eternity, even death will disappear. Do you like my last gift, my love? Holding her daughter, the Queen of Assyria gracefully stepped down from the throne of a huge stupid spider. The perfect appearance reminds Yunshi of the time when they first met in the underground lake. The young queen sleeps on a huge stupid spider and emits beauty beyond ordinary people's understanding under the bloody moonlight. The bare snow-white feet, the slightly sad eyes, and the curious look when looking at him. For her sake, Yunshi created White Moon, but White Moon awakened her own consciousness and even began to rebel against her mother. She chose to accept all this and forgive all this. Finally, in Yunshi's story, she married him with her daughter. On the wedding night, the queen's skin was as smooth as grease and fragrant as greasy powder. The gentle, fragrant, and soft body of White Moon was wonderful. With that slight movement, you can feel the touching touch of the queen's warm skin and the ecstasy of kneading in front of her snow peak. White Moon was sitting on his body, her white feet were shaking, Her pearl toenails were as lovely as a scallop, with a greasy and tender pink smell. The girl's skin is soft, smooth and crisp, with a charming voice. The smooth and warm face stuck to him, and the pure, sweet and easy-to-push-down taste and sweet and pitiful voice whispered in his ear. She stepped on his body with bare feet and tried to endure the gentle sobs. Compared with the desert dragon Zaka sisters, the sense of disobedience and the impulse to violate taboos brought about by the Queen of Assyria and White Moon are quite different. The last gift. Are you leaving? Represent the frenzied impulse in his heart, Yunshi looked at the huge stupid spider and the blood moon behind them, feeling a little uneasy. It seems that he made a fatal mistake in a certain link. The Millennium Dream is over. White Moon should also get her real body. Thank you for the best gift you gave me. The Queen of Assyria hugged White Moon's small body, showing an intoxicated expression. I never thought I could get such a precious and unique gift in the world. This is 1,000 times more important than my lost kingdom. The Queen of Assyria, holding the crying White Moon, sat on the huge stupid spider and stepped back into the crack leading to the abyss. No, isn't it? Looking at the Queen of Assyria and her daughter who disappeared into the abyss, Yunshi had a premonition of something bad. Parfu. Little Parfu came out from Yunshi's chest and waved goodbye to the Queen of Assyria. Chapter 825. Coming, Black Dragon Zaka. Part 1. Thank you. Feeling the huge power in his body, Yunshi sincerely thanked the Queen of Assyria and White Moon who disappeared at the end of the abyss. They obviously have a way to escape from the Dragon War world and don't need to join the war that determines the fate of the world. However, they finally held this mermaid game and gave him the essential power of 81 mermaid girls. This is definitely not without cost. All the fallen spider blades around the Queen are proof. Let's go. The last battlefield is there. After sorting out his emotions, Yunshi took a deep breath. I have a bad feeling that my mother is there. Desert Dragon Zaka scratched her head. Even if she was bold, she would still feel a little uneasy if she really wanted to compete with the ultimate power of the world. Yes, Sister Black Dragon Zaka also said that my mother is having nightmares. Ice Dragon Zaka made an absolutely correct judgment. Even so, we have to fight. Red Dragon Zaka, who respects her mother more than anyone else, said categorically. From the moment they connected with Yunshi, they had no way back. Then, get ready. Desert Dragon Zaka took the lead in extending her small hand, followed by Ice Dragon Zaka, Red Dragon Zaka and Yunshi. 4 hands, pressed together. 3 Dragons Alliance, fight. Sand eyes emerged and appeared at the feet of the 4 people. With Yunshi as the arrow, a dragon blade rose into the sky. In an instant, it ran through the end of the transparent ladder and came to the last battlefield of the world. In the sky, there are endless black clouds. A black dragon covering the world is winding its huge body around the last tower of hope for mankind. The huge fire tower hundreds of meters high, a large part of the tower body has been swallowed up by black matter, and only the torch on the top of the tower is still burning, which is the last light of hope for mankind and the world. It was a pair of twin witches in white and red that kept the torch. Hand in hand, they stood barefoot on the golden altar, with a golden balance suspended in front of them. On one side of the scale, a glowing red heart still beats, while on the other side is engulfed in a swirling black vortex. At this moment, the balance of the golden balance has completely fallen to the side of the black vortex. Every time the black vortex rotates, the gold balance will tremble. If the white witch hadn't shaken the ring in her hand from time to time, giving the hot red heart the mysterious power of starlight, I'm afraid the balance would have fallen to the side of the black vortex. The whole world doesn't exist other gold. The shadow of the black dragon has covered the whole heaven and earth. In the endless darkness, only the top of the tower is still emitting light. There you are, Prince. Looking at the 3 Dragons Alliance and Yunshi who rose to the sky and fell to the top of the tower, the witch wearing white witch clothes smiled sweetly. Are you here to marry us? First of all, it's wishful thinking. Even if you are the only man left in the world, I wouldn't marry you. The witch holding the red lotus holy sword spat. You are really good at it, you playful bastard. Desert Dragon Zaka stared at Yunshi's neck with a sure expression. In the morning, at noon, and at night, you will have estrus. This is human beings. Ice Dragon Zaka sneered. Mother and daughter. You have a big appetite. Red Dragon Zaka and her two sisters glared at Yunshi, and the Three Dragons Alliance reached an agreement again. Now is not time to say this, that is. Original dragon? Yunshi was sweating and watching the body spread endlessly, just like a black dragon devouring the world. No, that's Black Dragon Zaka. Desert Dragon Zaka shook her head. Her god weapon has the attribute of making her body infinitely larger and devouring the world. The Heart of Nightmare is the original god weapon that can be used to kill gods. Yunshi looked at the black dragon that had already pushed the world to the end. It was difficult to connect the dragon with the small black dragon Zaka. Why, as the youngest of the four sisters of Zaka, did she has this terrible body shape? Swallow the world, Black Dragon Zaka. She is disaster, she is the end. She was the youngest Zaka, part of our mother's deepest nightmare. The Three Dragons Alliance is also the first time to see the real body of Black Dragon Zaka that has evolved to engulf the world. With the power of the Heart of Nightmares, Black Dragon Zaka continues to devour and grow, and finally reaches the level of covering the planet. This is the attribute of Black Dragon Zaka. It is inconceivable that there is still a pure land in the world that has blocked the devouring of Black Dragon Zaka. The power of the twin witches is really strong. They can even survive in the face of this crisis. But they made another choice. The principle of equal exchange is the truth of all things. What you give, what you get. What you get, what you lose. The last stage has opened, Prince. Are you ready? White Lotus held the golden balance in front of her. All preparations are for the final decisive battle at this moment. Which side of the golden balance will eventually fall? The duty of the twin witches is to witness the end of this war and determine the ultimate battle of the world's destiny. Black Dragon Zaka's power is infinite, and she has the qualification to dominate the world. The whole world has been entangled by her body and can't break away. The only ones who can fight against the power of Black Dragon Zaka are those who also belong to the original dragon and the prince who married them. The Dragon War, the final task of the main line, start. Ice Dragon Zaka shook her head. This is the gap. The original dragon mother preferred her. Good appetite. Desert Dragon Zaka looked at her sister admiringly. What is the taste of eating a world? I'm afraid this is the ultimate attribute of an eater. Yunshi tightly grasped Red Dragon Zaka's small hand, and their consciousness overlapped with each other very skillfully. Spiral light breaks through the sky. My attack is invincible. Look, the sky is burning, that is the proof of our love. Break it, the thing that dares to stop me. This is the ruling from the Red Dragon Queen. Even if it is impermanent darkness, I will break it for you. Holy, crimson light. The endless red halo spread with their voices. Desert Dragon Zaka felt that she had been hurt 10,000 points. Ice Dragon Zaka felt that she had been critically hit. White Lotus looked at the pair angrily and almost lost the golden balance in her hand. Red Lotus raised her eyebrows. For some reason she was also murderous. Well, the powerful ultimate combination skill has caused more than 50,000 points of undifferentiated damage to their own camp before it was launched. Fortunately, this move will do more harm to Black Dragon Zaka. Seeing the two holding hands, heart to heart, a sweet, hot look. In Black Dragon Zaka's dark pupils a large green light suddenly appeared. 100,000 points of real damage, firmly penetrating the defense of the Black Mask, let the great will that dominated Black Dragon Zaka's body completely fall into a state of madness. Quack. Holding up her little hand, Black Dragon Zaka's index finger and middle finger stood up into a sword. At the same time, behind her emerged a huge black sword that looked enough to tear the world apart. Yunshi had an intuition when he saw the sword. Don't let this move appear. This move is the God Sword skill that can really separate the world with one sword. Clearly has never seen this sword, but the Three Dragons Alliance is only oppressed by the sword momentum of this sword, and it has a cold body, like the fear of the end. On the sword of Black Dragon Zaka, the attribute of pair of dragons appears, which should not have appeared on Black Dragon Zaka. Endless dark matter began to condense on this huge dark sword, making the sword body more huge and more real. The longer this move is charged, the more powerful it will be. It is a forbidden move that goes beyond the common sense of the world. If this move is completed, the world will end and the Three Dragons Alliance will disappear. Yun-shi is extremely convinced of this. So, he attacked. The silvery white light spots turned into bright tracks, with 4 white lines moving forward in a spiral circuit, and instantly hit the expanding sword of darkness in Black Dragon Zaka's hands. At the same time, the dark red dragon roar spread faster and crazier than ever. Both of them are powerful enough to destroy the world, and they collide together directly. For the first time, the sacred crimson light didn't completely crush the target. Ice Dragon Zaka came behind Yun-shi and pressed his right shoulder. This is the last and the most brilliant. Red Dragon Zaka took the initiative to stand in the arms of Yun-shi, and the two raised their hands together. Look, the sky is burning. Our sandstorm is blowing. Blizzard, come forth. The silvery white light points shine again on Yun-shi's fingertips, and the 3 colorless and transparent spiral lines are dyed with different colors. Desert Dragon Zaka's wild gravel color. Ice Dragon Zaka's calm and restrained ice and snow color. Red Dragon Zaka's ebullient flame color. This is a combination skill with a scale of 4 people, integrating the strongest brilliance of 4 Dragon Roar Wave. Perhaps because of their skin relatives, Yun-shi accepted the dragon attribute power of Desert Dragon Zaka and Ice Dragon Zaka effortlessly, and was almost unhindered when integrating into the divine light. It seems that he is naturally good at combining the forces of different attributes. After the final fusion, the holy light showed a constantly changing beautiful posture, with the silver spiral light point as the top and 3 different colors of spiral lines, instantly locking the Black Dragon Zaka. It's still the familiar sweet honey, and even a little more parfu flavor, which caused special damage to the twin witches in his camp before he took action. On Black Dragon Zaka's side, she was hit by Holy Light X3. 3 treasure beads emerged at the same time, once again forming the demon's sword that once appeared on the 3rd floor of Assyria. The 4-colored holy light shows the 4 attributes of frost, dust, fire, and holiness. The demon's sword in the hands of Black Dragon Zaka also shows frost, dust, nightmare, and special anti-dragon attributes. Back in the hands of Black Dragon Zaka, the 3 treasure beads released enough aura to destroy the sky and the earth. Inlaid with the disc of treasure beads, a large number of runes emerged, which are words interpreting the essence of the rule's world. Sharp, tough, defenseless, cannot avoid, multiple crushing, crush, armor break. With each additional rune, the destructive smell released by Demon Sword will increase by 1 point, even in the face of the 4-color Dragon Roar Wave jointly displayed by the 3 Dragons Alliance and Yun-shi, it is not inferior. Both sides have shown the power to dominate some of the world's rules. Buzz. The rotating demon sword stirred the surroundings like longing for blood and killing, creating a huge black vortex around Black Dragon Zaka. That is what appears on the golden scale of the twin witches, representing the essence of Black Dragon Zaka at the moment. Sweep over everything, destroy everything. Devour everything, destroy everything. Unstoppable, like the footsteps of the world collapsing, Black Dragon Zaka's aura suddenly changed. It was an absolute focus, which Yun-shi was very familiar with. Why does Black Dragon Zaka have such an aura? Yun-shi, with the 4-color Dragon Roar Wave, and the 3 Dragons Alliance, fiercely hit Black Dragon Zaka. If we don't succeed, we will die. This is Yun-shi's decision. There is no possibility of a long-term war. In the face of Black Dragon Zaka, who has devoured a world, any tactic that wants to drag it down is ridiculous. Without the protection of the golden balance of the twin witches, the world would have collapsed. This is the truth Yun-shi realized when he entered this battlefield. This war can only be won. There is no other way but to win. However, in the next second, Black Dragon Zaka's posture made Yun-shi's back suddenly feel chill. The supremacy of heaven and the world. Supercilious and transcendent. In the next second, the sharp sword light cut off all the brilliance flying in the sky, calling for a bloodbath. Yun-shi has seen and felt such a sword light before. The four-color light runs through the body of Black Dragon Zaka, and the sword light that cuts everything also cuts the four-color light. 4 beads appeared in the sky at the same time, and the last lost bead also appeared. This represents the fall of Red Dragon Zaka. The veritable sword of dragon killing really doesn't look like a sword skill that the speechless Black Dragon Zaka can use. She doesn't look like the person who would kill her sisters. But I won't regret it. Red Dragon Zaka slowly closed her eyes and gently told Yunshi, only with you, I won't regret it. Returning to the embrace of the original Dragon Mother is probably our destination. We were all her children. The green flowers left the heart of Red Dragon Zaka and returned to the fingertips of Yunshi. Sigh, even if I have to die, I have to die with glory. Desert Dragon Zaka stood on tiptoe and kissed Yunshi on the cheek. Goodbye, my playboy. Ice Dragon Zaka also learned from her sister and kissed Yunshi on the cheek. Obviously, they weren't hit by Black Dragon Zaka's sword. Desert Dragon Zaka and Ice Dragon Zaka were both dead together with Red Dragon Zaka. The bodies of the 3 people began to turn into light spots of different colors, as if summoned by something, and flew towards the treasure beads suspended in the sky. It was indeed a call from the original dragon, but a call of death. Am I alone again? Looking at the green flower at his fingertips, Yunshi looked at the 3 dragons, which turned into light spots and disappeared with sad eyes. No, it's not just the 3 dragons that have disappeared. The body of Black Dragon Zaka, whose mask was shattered by the 4-color dragon roar wave, was also disappearing. This is... Yunshi suddenly raised her head and looked at the 4 treasure beads in the sky. Desert Dragon Zaka's dust treasure bead. Ice Dragon Zaka's ice treasure bead. Red Dragon Zaka's fire treasure bead. Black Dragon Zaka's nightmare treasure bead. The 4 Zaka sisters have all turned to dust, and died together. Finally, Yunshi and the 3 dragons jointly performed the ultimate combination skill, which was not ineffective. They did help him defeat the strongest Black Dragon Zaka at the end. Zakas returned to where they come from. The 4 treasure beads are their incarnations. So, who is in front of him now? Don't be careless, Prince, the battle is not over. White Lotus looked at the golden balance in her hand, and the heart of the red dragon and the black vortex disappeared at the same time. Instead, there are 2 chips to judge the ultimate fate of the world. Instead of the heart of the red dragon, the king with a sword appeared at the left end of the scale. Instead of the black vortex, the emerald dragon shadow appeared at the right end of the balance. The sleeping primal dragon was waking up. Black Dragon Zaka's young body started growing, and the once shattered black mask was replaced by a new emerald-colored mask. The real final battle began after the return of the Zaka sisters. Yunshi, finally facing the ultimate evil of the world, which is also the strongest ultimate creature, the original dragon. Under the emerald mask, a chilling smile appeared, which was a dangerous smile of "I finally caught you and how can you escape now?" Yunshi has never felt such a sense of oppression, which is a fatal threat that even the heart will stagnate. Yunshi has no doubt that the waking original dragon has the strength to crush him. At the same time, in Yunshi's mind, a task suddenly began to shine, as if it was reminding Yunshi of something. Optional Branch 4, find the hidden secret treasure of the evil dragon. Dragon's secret treasure? What's that? Yunshi looked at the prompt that suddenly appeared, and his heart moved. He looked up and saw 4 treasure beads floating in the sky. They are the treasure beads representing Desert Dragon Zaka, Ice Dragon Zaka, Red Dragon Zaka, and Black Dragon Zaka respectively. Although they died, they didn't disappear, but continued to exist there in this way. Born from the original dragon will, they will become the strongest weapons of the original dragon, which is their essence. Is the so-called secret treasure of the dragon? The strongest black mark on Yunshi's hand suddenly started to heat up. Are you making a sound to me? Finally, Black Dragon Zaka. Yes, the anger of our mother is unstoppable. She will destroy the world. If you really want to save the world, use us. We made a choice. Yunshi's heartbeat began to accelerate unprecedentedly. If the world has been surrounded by endless darkness, the voice echoing in his ears at the moment is the final salvation. Confess to me, fool. Confess to me, playboy. Confess to me, liar. Confess, what is it? The voices of the 4 Zaka sisters echoed in Yunshi's mind at the same time, just as they were still alive. Ah, I see. The most precious secret treasure of the evil dragon is you. Chapter 8:28, Secret Treasure of the Dragon, Part 2. I like you, Desert Dragon Zaka, you are the storm of hot sand, my 3rd princess. I like you, Ice Dragon Zaka. You are the queen of ice and snow, my 4th princess. I like you, Red Dragon Zaka, you are the burning flame, my 5th princess. I like you, Black Dragon Zaka, you are the mysterious unknown, my 6th princess. If you can, marry me, great Zakas. Yunshi stretched out his hand, and the world extended infinitely between his fingers, confessioned to the 4 Zaka sisters at the same time. They are sisters who will not be separated. As long as you like one person, you will naturally like all of them, which seems to be destined. Therefore, what they ask is we, which is what they desire. We are Zaka sisters, the great Zaka sisters. Desert Dragon Zaka triumphantly responded. We are Zaka sisters, the wise Zaka sisters. Ice Dragon Zaka responded with a smile. We are Zaka sisters, the fighting Zaka sisters. Red Dragon Zaka's enthusiasm remained the same. We are Zaka sisters, the mysterious Zaka sisters. Black Dragon Zaka's voice was a little low. Zaka sisters will never be defeated. Zaka sisters will go forward. Zaka sisters will win every battle. Zaka sisters won't regret their choice. Yunshi can't tell who is who, because the voices of the 4 sisters have been mixed together. On the ground, the original giant dragon wearing an emerald mask stretched out her hand and began to call on the 4 beads in the sky. It was an absolute order from the original dragon will, a compulsory order for the 4 sisters. However, this time, the 4 Zaka sisters resisted the original dragon's instructions together, and the 4 Zaka sisters made the same choice. The 4 treasure beads gathered together flew to Yunshi at the same time, releasing the breath of the 4 Zaka sisters. The dragon on the ground was stunned. Suddenly her murderous intent rose to the sky, as she glared at Yunshi, who had been favored by the 4 Zaka sisters. Ah! What a wonderful scene! White Lotus looked at the golden balance that instantly recovered the balance, covering her small mouth. It's shameless. Red Lotus said that the man over there was hopeless. Desert field. The 4 sand eyes appeared again, bigger than ever, and the wind of hot sand released was more violent. Ice mirror array. More and denser ice mirrors emerged around Yunshi, launching an unprecedented large array. Dragon roar wave. The deep red dragon roar wave spread and roared, making the earth completely dyed red. Nightmare. Once again, a huge dark dragon shadow appeared, but this time the dragon that devoured the world became the support of Yunshi, the strongest help from Black Dragon Zaka. At this moment, Yunshi felt that the star wings in his hand seemed to release a certain sense of elation. Illusion, it's an illusion. All the branch missions of the Dragon War were marked with completion one by one. At this moment, Yunshi stood at the top of the world and raised the star wings in his hands under the gaze of the twin witches. The 4 Zaka sisters, who betrayed their mother, floated beside him at the same time and completely ignored the compulsory combination order from their mother. Hiss. Ha! The original dragon with its head askew seemed to be in a state of extreme doubt and stretched out its hand again to issue a recall order to the 4 Zaka sisters. Sorry, I want to be here. I can't go back. Sorry, Mother. Mom, I'm out of order. At the same time, the 4 sisters rejected the call from the original dragon and danced around Yunshi of their own will. The original dragon's killing intent began to increase at an unusual rate. Anger, disappointment, or both. The green light surrounded the original dragon's body. She once again closed her index finger and middle finger together, and a huge emerald sword began to take shape behind her. At the moment of the formation of this huge sword, the golden balance began to shake violently, as if the fate of the world was about to encounter the final judgment. No, my mother is going to destroy the world. Attack. Once again, the strongest dragon roar wave. What is a combination skill? The voices of the 4 Zaka sisters suddenly became tense, and the 4 treasure beads all wrapped around Yunshi, and then entered Yunshi's body. Yunshi's left hand was occupied by Desert Dragon Zaka. Yunshi's right hand was occupied by Ice Dragon Zaka. Yunshi's heart was occupied by Red Dragon Zaka. Yunshi's forehead was occupied by Black Dragon Zaka. The Black Dragon, which devoured the world, began to roar. Zakas, the strongest forces that once overwhelmed Yunshi, became the strongest foreign aid. With all the power, Yunshi can feel the will of the 4 Zaka sisters. The sacred silver light points were flying at Yunshi's fingertips and cheering. The sand blown from the horizon is the proof of our love. Desert Dragon Zaka began to boldly confess. The permanent ice and snow at the end of the world is a witness. Look, the sky is burning. This is the strongest flame of the Red Dragon Queen, eyes in the dark, staring at you. Yunshi raised the star wings in his hand, and endless brilliance fell, which was the care of the stars. The original dragon's finger fell coldly. It was the final judgment of the fate of the world. Between heaven and earth, endless brilliance and green giant swords crisscross, explode and sublimate. It's like what it was when it was being praised at the beginning of the world. The star composed of endless gravel appeared in the sky, and then began to fall rapidly. 4 sand eyes surrounded the star, summoning more gravel to make the star composed of gravel more huge. The original dragon raised her hand, and the green giant sword behind her instantly began to cut the star of the sand. It seems that it is almost as difficult for her to cut open the star that fell to the ground as it was for her to cut an apple. Frozen for thousands of miles, Trio, Yunshi released 3 forbidden spells without stopping. The snow line spread instantly on the earth, and the 10,000-year-old ice and snow turned into ice rings, froze everything, and everywhere you saw a vast white expanse. Pure white without any impurities. Let the world become pure and white. The battlefield turned white. The green halo around the original dragon spread and was not affected by the ice. The extremely low temperature seemed to be just a breeze blowing across her face. Look, the sky is burning. Yunshi stood up his index finger and middle finger and pointed to the sky. 1, 2, 3, 4. 7 flame meteors formed in the sky, and then countless fire clouds began to boil, like magma bubbles under the ground. The original dragon looked dismissively at the burning clouds that began to boil, opened her small mouth, and spit out a jade dragon's breath. Before the 7 flame meteors began to fall, they were transformed into nothingness by the spreading emerald dragon's breath, as if they had been completely decomposed. Strong, hopelessly strong. Yunshi couldn't even figure out the real strength of the original dragon in front of him. It seems that she hasn't been serious since she came on stage. My mother, in fact, is still asleep. It's just her anger. A slightly hoarse, low voice came from his ears, which was the murmur of Black Dragon Zaka, the most powerful of the 4 Zaka sisters and the least familiar to Yunshi. As the strongest Zaka who was once dominated by the original dragon, she is the only one of the 4 Zaka sisters who has really touched that kind of will. If you can calm our mother's anger, maybe you can save the world. I know she is angry, but why? Yunshi asked the youngest Zaka who was whispering in his ear. That's because she had nightmares. Black Dragon Zaka couldn't understand what was going on. It was too difficult for her to understand why the great original dragon mother was angry. That gnashing of teeth and bitter hatred seemed to be only aimed at one person. Considering that there is only one human being in the world who can resist the original dragon, the answer seems not difficult to reason. It was none other than the prince who caused the original dragon's anger. You are mother's nightmare. After reaching this conclusion, Black Dragon Zaka's voice suddenly became silent. I know. My mother's hatred must be on you. The reason? Maybe you can guess. I'll tell you the truth. Who let you not even let go of the youngest sister Black Dragon Zaka? In his mind, the 3 dragons came together again. It seemed that even if they lost their flesh, their contempt for Yunshi would remain unchanged for 10,000 years. Chapter 829, The Power of the Black Dragon, Part 2. I'm still young. I don't understand. The timid black dragon Zaka looked at the noisy sisters in confusion. It doesn't matter if you don't know. You're the only one of our sisters who hasn't been poisoned by him. Sister, don't believe what this liar says in the future. This is a true playboy. Despite such complaints and contempt, Black Dragon Zaka can feel the heartfelt joy and happiness of her sisters. Can I do the same? Can I do the same thing as my sisters? If I can do anything, then I am willing to take action. If it's this person, it's okay. This time, Yunshi instantly felt the fluctuation from Black Dragon Zaka. The dark smell of terror was spreading from his forehead, which was the unique strength of Black Dragon Zaka. If one of the 4 Zaka sisters can really pose a threat to the original giant dragon, it is Black Dragon Zaka, who evolved to the dragon of world devouring. Strong as the original giant dragon, it first came to the world with the help of Black Dragon Zaka's power. Even because of Black Dragon Zaka's betrayal, her body structure has not been completed yet. Black Dragon Zaka is the strongest weapon in the original giant dragon's hand. The dark blade that destroys the world. At the same time, she is undoubtedly the most powerful of the 4 treasure beads obtained by Yunshi. The only problem is that Yunshi is not used to using the power of Black Dragon Zaka. Having skin relatives with the 3 dragons, he can skillfully use Desert Dragon Zaka, Ice Dragon Zaka, and Red Dragon Zaka's powers, but he can't mobilize Black Dragon Zaka's power. Because he doesn't know how to use this power. Even for this reason, the black part of the flying dragon roar wave is the least, which is a flaw caused by insufficient proficiency. Except for the red, blue and yellow of the 3 primary colors, black should have been the corresponding color with the strongest attribute woven with the sacred silver white, but the dragon roar wave didn't evolve such a formula. Tell me, what do my sisters know, but I don't know? With curious pupils, the black dragon asked Yunshi about THR things not in heritage memory. The initial memory of the 4 Zaka sisters is similar, which is the knowledge and wisdom from the great original dragon mother. When they were still in the egg, they were all similar individuals, but their personalities were slightly different because of the difference in attributes. However, as they broke their shells and left the nest of the dragon, they had a different life and a different destiny. The last-born black dragon Zaka was forcibly catalyzed by the original dragon and completed the great cause of devouring the world, and then met her sisters. Unlike what she imagined, her sisters didn't die but lived well. They seemed to have started a completely different life. Their smiles are something she had never seen before. They are even willing to die for human beings and have no regrets. Compared with their mother who fell into madness because of anger, Black Dragon Zaka finally chose the side of her sisters. Among them, the golden butter bread on the 3rd floor of the tower also played a little role, really just a little. At the moment, what Black Dragon Zaka wants to know is the secret that her sisters know and enjoy, but don't tell her. What makes her want to be with this human being? Just because he can make delicious bread. Time seems to stop at this moment. Black Dragon Zaka's young body appeared in Yunshi's arms and stretched out her hands to him. From the palm of her tender and smooth hands, bursts of cool air came into Yunshi's body. This air slowly flowed into Yunshi's body, leaving only a trace of cool meaning. It was very comfortable, and it would be better if it weren't black. The dark force with a cold taste infected Yunshi's body a little bit. It's strange that his body didn't resist this dark force, and it seems that it is not strange to have this dark attribute power. What you have done to my sisters, I also want. Although still young, Black Dragon Zaka's curiosity overcame her shyness, and she instinctively perceived the difference between herself and her sisters. They have something she doesn't have. Even Red Dragon Zaka, who is just a little older than her, also has a sense of maturity she doesn't have. Yunshi lowered her head and looked at the pair of little white rabbits. As Black Dragon Zaka wished, Yunshi gently kissed Black Dragon Zaka's small red lips. When it comes to kissing, Black Dragon Zaka was not Yunshi's opponent at all. Her pair of clear, lively, kind and simple eyes were tightly closed, the 2 rows of long eyelashes were bent and trembling. The small, pink, soft and smooth body twisted, but it couldn't escape Yunshi's clutches. Even though she is still small, she inherits the fine tradition of the Zaka sisters. Although the buds on her chest were not very big, It had a full sense of protrusion, like a sharp bamboo shoot. Yunshi's hand moved down involuntarily, and soon it felt the softness. Black Dragon Zaka blinked and seemed to understand what the sisters couldn't say. Oh. Her clear and simple eyes closed shyly at this time. So, my sisters were treated like this. I understand. Only in this way can I be like my sisters and make us truly united. Chapter 830, Dessert Time. Is that so, sisters? In the girl's sweet and pathetic voice, the youngest Black Dragon Zaka finally understood what her sisters knew but she didn't know. The aroma is provocative, the green fruit is tempting, the skin is greasy and soft, the feeling is itching, the body is uneasy, the pink and tender body is shaking suddenly, and the whole body becomes extremely soft. The lovely voice, tempting salivation, and the gentle song echoed in the dark world. Black Dragon Zaka's delicate mouth was blocked by Yunshi, deftly provoking the closed jaws, and slammed in again. The deft tongue soon caught her glittering, dodgy, greasy tongue in that delicate, greasy, warm mouth, sucked it out, greedily licked and entangled. The invisible flame began to burn on Black Dragon Zaka's delicate body. The little Black Dragon Zaka's face was moist and her body wriggled uneasily. Her nose's rapid breathing brought out bursts of hum. Occasionally, a gentle and sad, poor moan swayed into the bone marrow. The excitement made Black Dragon Zaka's whole body numb and sour, and her eyelashes trembled slightly, but she was too shy to open her eyes. Dodgy but misty eyes opened slightly, and what she saw was some too exciting scenery. The body, as if it had been melted, was sour and soft without strength. Even if it was strong enough to crush the constitution of the world, it had no immunity at this moment. The black ripples ripple away bit by bit. The snow-white, pink and tender feet are also rippling in the arms of Yunshi, playing the song of love. Yunshi tasted the taste of the last Black Dragon Zaka. They are all charming desserts. The taste of Desert Dragon Zaka is like a donut that will explode in the mouth, and there will always be a strong fragrance on the tip of the tongue. Ice Dragon Zaka's taste is ice cream layer after layer, which is sweet and delicious with endless aftertaste. The taste of Red Dragon Zaka is the wine heart chocolate that makes people warm all over, like a burning pleasure. The taste of Black Dragon Zaka is crisp, sweet and soft cake, which melts in the mouth and makes him immersed in that simple sweetness. Is it a moment or a permanent memory? In the endless darkness, it seems that even the concept of time has become ambiguous. Black Dragon Zaka, the world-devouring dragon, has such distorted and powerful rules. In her dragon shadow, even time can be frozen. Yunshi even saw the once disappeared king city of the Guardian Kingdom at the end of the endless darkness. Let Yunshi teach herself what was not taught in the textbook, and finally understand what her sisters understand. Black Dragon Zaka's naked feet stepped on Yunshi's hand. I understand. Come. Change. If it's you. You can do it. The green blade teared the dark curtain of heaven and ran through the dragon shadow of Black Dragon Zaka, announcing the end of this world. The figure of Black Dragon Zaka turned into a part of darkness and became the power of Yunshi. Finally, Black Dragon Zaka's blessing is finally complete. Endless. Black Dragon Wave. Yunshi raised his left hand and aimed at the green giant sword that tore the world. The strongest power of Zaka, the power of the world-devouring dragon, finally comes under the domination of Yunshi. The weakest link in the dragon roar wave has been completed. Yunshi finally has the strongest weapon, which is enough to compete with the original dragon. The silver spiral light spot responded to Yunshi's call, and instantly appeared at his fingertips, flying and jumping. 4 spiral lines of different colors are finally connected behind the silver spiral light spot in a perfect posture. At the moment, the dragon roar wave is the real dragon roar wave. Black, white, red, yellow, blue. Endless colors are intertwined, more vivid and energetic than ever. The originally slightly lifeless black is also alive. Ding! For the first time, the green giant sword that tore heaven and earth encountered obstacles, and even large cracks began to appear in the body of the sword. The power of the dragon roar wave was finally released. This flying dragon roar wave really has the hegemonic power to destroy everything. The speed of its movement is so fast that she can't even judge with the naked eye. It's an unbound divine light, and it's also a destructive light that divides all things. The original giant dragon with an emerald mask, whose eyes were originally chaotic, was a little more awake. At the same time, the index finger and middle finger that stood up as a sword began to move more frequently. The reflection of the second emerald giant sword began to appear behind her, replacing the shadow of the first one, which was already riddled with holes. This is really amazing power. Even Shi, who has long known the power of the original dragon, can't help but be amazed when he sees the second emerald giant sword. Compared with the first sword that had been destroyed by his dragon roar wave, this sword was larger and the green light it released was more dazzling. That sense of oppression, as if to tell Shi, no matter how strong you become, I am still stronger than you. This kind of strength is edgeless. What is the best way to defeat such a primitive dragon? The silver spiral light point returned to Shi's fingertips, and the 4 spiral lines continued to accelerate and accumulate strength, just like responding to the anger of the original dragon. The 4 Zaka sisters never conceded. Shi can feel that he is not fighting alone, at the moment. Mermaid girls active in the royal city of Assyria, greetings from the Queen of Assyria and White Moon. The colorful dragon roar wave flying at his fingertips, the love song of the dragon incarnated by the 4 Zaka sisters. Also, the balance rule of the original dragon has been vaguely suppressed, and the gaze of the twin witches. It's time to liberate the taboo. The 4 Zaka sisters even gambled their lives to become his power, so he must also respond equally. He will pay the price well. Now, let him open it again, the door that shouldn't be opened. The star wings. Shi raised his sword and resolutely summoned the unknowable mystery again. For the first time, Shi saw the sun. The blazing flames of the sun covered heaven and earth and burned everything. The second time, Shi saw the green girl holding the doll, with the brilliance of life that breeds everything. This time, what will he see? The Starwings world is like a box full of countless unknowns. You never know what is in the box before opening it. Language and understanding. Behaviors and phenomena. Heart and body. Meow. Chapter 831, Black Wings. It was an elegant and lovely cat, who came from the gap between the world and the world with her mind-stirring footsteps. Exists, but doesn't exist. The ghost that let countless scholars scold the High the sky sword, let the gods go crazy. This time, Shi observed her existence more clearly than in the past. Then, a black smell leaked out of the open door. Black. Shi first time saw the black wings, which were completely different from the first golden-red wings of the sun and the second wings of life. They were strange and profound wings. Danger, danger, danger. From the black wings, Shi felt an absolutely bad breath. That is more dangerous than the sun of burning mountains and boiling seas. She is completely different from the previous wings. Just the black feathers falling from the other side of the door gave Shi a shivering feeling as if countless worlds were crying. Open the door. From the other side of the door, there was a strange sound, which seemed very unexpected, and looked forward to something. This door can't be opened. Shi suddenly had the impulse to close the door. The black wings gave him a very bad premonition. If he opened this door, it would lead to unpredictable disasters, which might even be more dangerous than the original dragon. Sure enough, the liberation of the Starwings is like opening a mysterious box that doesn't know what exists. The wings that appeared in the box for the first time are more or less still in the familiar range of Shi. This time, the third appearance of wings, was a complete disaster. Just the falling black feathers made Shi feel chilly. From these black feathers, he smelled the destruction of countless worlds. Compared with the owner of this black feather, Black Dragon Zaka is simply a harmless little animal. Don't you expect to destroy? The owner of the black wings smiled gently, as if she had already seen through Shi's little mind. Then, feel it. The sound of the end of the stars. Black feathers fell, covering the Starwings' sword in Shi's hand. The star wings absorbed these black feathers and became the same color as the feathers. Enjoy destroying. Destroy everything in the world. Finally nothingness. The girl's voice echoed in Yunshi's ears, like a lover's whisper. Ah 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 ah. Yunshi pressed his forehead, and the endless dark breath spread. It was not only the dark matter of Black Dragon Zaka, but also the breath from the other side of the galaxy. This breath is far beyond the limit of the 4 Zaka sisters. It is only the part that leaks out from the door that slightly opens the gap, which makes Yunshi see the endless end. The original dragon opposite Yunshi waved the emerald sword again to confront Yunshi's dragon roar wave. The dragon roar wave, which can tear up the barrier of space and attack infinitely, blasted large holes on the second emerald giant sword, but this giant sword built by the original power of the dragon will soon repair itself. Each attack will make this sword more powerful, and the posture will become more majestic and sharp. The whole process is like the birth of an immortal sword. With the breaking power of the dragon roar wave, a terrible god weapon is being forged. This is the most terrifying place of the original dragon. She has the natural attribute of gestating god weapon. The 4 Zaka sisters' weapons were created by her, and each holds an attribute of the original dragon. Now, the new and more powerful god weapon is being built by the original dragon. Once this process is completed, the 4 Zaka sisters, who incarnate the dragon roar wave, will no longer pose a threat. The horror of the original dragon is emerging in this way. The twin witches looked at the original dragon who was casting god weapon and nodded to each other. On the golden balance held by the two ends of the once unbalanced balance once again returned to an incredible equilibrium. This means that the chips invested by Yunshi and the chips of the original dragon have achieved real parity for the first time. The next battle will soon determine the fate of the world. Once again, the dragon roar wave danced at the fingertips of Yunshi, and the scarred giant sword of the original dragon recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye, and finally became a big sword that Yunshi was slightly familiar with. It's just that Yunshi can't see the sword at the moment. His eyes fell into an indifferent nothingness, and all the forces of the battle god's seed in his body began to inspire. It was the last card of Cassina, the battle god, buried in Yunshi's body, as well as all the mermaid marks released. Otherwise, he simply could not bear the power contained in this sword, which came from the far side of the starry sky and came into this world from the door opened by the star wings. At this moment, in Yunshi's eyes, the world has become countless chaotic lines, and the vast majority of lines show a disordered arrangement. Only the green dragon is so dazzling in this black and white world. She doesn't belong to this world, she is above this world. Similarly, at this moment, Yunshi has also exceeded the limits of the world, surrounded by a large number of stars and dust. In those dust, there are countless memories of destroyed stars, and what destroyed these stars was a pair of black wings. Yunshi cannot say the name of this pair of wings, but he can feel the attributes of this pair of wings. The terminator of the stars. The star wings, which turned black, released the breath of turning everything into nothingness in Yunshi's hands, which was the end of the stars in the continuous collapse and self-destruction. Stars fall. Yunshi unconsciously began to wave his sword, and the star wings, which turned black, fell, and the broken breath of the void covered the original dragon. The original dragon also waved her sword without hesitation, and the green light on the curled hair flashed, cutting off all things, and the overwhelmed sword chi fell. The colorful dragon roar wave turned into endless brilliance and suddenly spread. All the light in the world was eclipsed at this moment. Chapter 832, Her Name, Part 1. Blade. 1 is a huge black sword, with black wings extending from the hilt, releasing the breath of destroying the sky and earth. 1 is a green giant sword. The body of the sword constantly shines with green brilliance, and it also has groundbreaking power. Why is this feeling so familiar? Finally, Yunshi's consciousness fell into a strange realm. After releasing the battle god's seed, he was in the weakest state in his life, and even the fingertip movement was extremely laborious. Holding the black star wings, he was also in the strongest state in his life. Waving the black star wings, every brandish made the whole world tremble. Confused, uneasy, nervous. Stepping on the black aperture, Yunshi danced in the clear sky, followed by falling black feathers and the colorful dragon roar wave of the 4 Zaka sisters, dancing with the dragon. At the same time, the dragon's roar from the original giant dragon rang through the sky, and the dragon horn began to appear above the emerald mask. Battle. Fight on. 2 different sword lights crisscross and collide in the sky. Both sides have the absolute power to decide the fate of the world. This is a battle between monsters and monsters. It is in this level of fighting that Yunshi first experienced what is beyond the limit and what is the momentum of self-esteem in the sky and the world. With each sword, a certain feeling in his heart became stronger and stronger. The sword will not lie. The original dragon fighting with him, even in a palpitating madness, still vaguely exudes the familiar breath. Her sword is very strong. It can even be said to be the strongest of all the strong people Yunshi has come into contact with. But similarly, her sword makes Yunshi feel familiar. Such a sword is so special and powerful. The green aperture, constantly spreading around her, covers the world. That's the dragon roar wave of the original dragon. The strange green dragon roar wave follows a principle that even the 4 Zaka sisters don't know, and constantly strengthens and transforms the green giant sword. The original dragon, who lost the 4 Zaka sisters, chose to recast a sword to fight. This sword will continue to become stronger in battle, strengthening itself every minute and every second. More and more runes are floating on this unfinished green giant sword, and each rune has different power. Tenacity can make the sword hairer. Unyielding can resist external forces. Armor breaking can break through the enemy's defense. Crush can kill small body-sized creatures in an instant. Vitality can give the user unlimited energy. Any of these runes has the power to change the war situation. The original dragon not only cast these runes and they can continuously strengthen the sword. However, the black star wings of Yunshi is the same. The longer Yunshi liberates the star wings, the more he can feel how terrible the black feathers falling from the other side of the door are. The original dragon can continuously strengthen its green giant sword with its own talent, and its black feathers are also improving the strength of the star wings. The rudiments of a pair of black wings are slowly condensed behind Yunshi. That is a taboo that cannot appear in the world. It is an indescribable thing from the other side of the starry sky. It is a disaster that will lead to the collapse of the world and the fall of stars. With each sword, Yunshi can feel the malice from the stars' memories, and even his own consciousness has become more and more nihilistic. It seems that for the owners of these black wings, once they appear, they are doomed to bring irreparable things. Among the 3 different wings, the black wing has the most terrible attribute. That power even made Yunshi, who had the experience of dominating the dark forces, feel palpitation. However, it is such a force that can cooperate with the dragon roar wave to fight with the original giant dragon. Both sides are raising their limits and surpassing the development of the world. Nothing can stop the original dragon and Yunshi. Not bound by anything. Above all things in the world. God of gods. Demon of demons. Their swords even had a special resonance. During the constant impact, the star wings even found something, and more actively bombarded the green giant sword that was not fully formed, showing the black feathers. In return, the original dragon's sword released more green light, as if answering the star wing's attack. Gah! Behind Yunshi, a black wing first broke his shoulders and floated behind Yunshi with a sense of elegance that ignored everything. Hiss! Similarly, a fuzzy light wing also stretched out from behind the original dragon, corresponding to the black wings of Yunshi. The original dragon with an emerald mask was stunned for the first time and pressed her forehead. For a long time, the green light that dominated the original dragon also showed signs of instability for the first time. The hair clusters twisted like sharp blades, which seemed to be a little nervous. It's a variable. Yunshi was keenly aware of this. Mother's consciousness is recovering. Yes, keep fighting. Mom really fell asleep. This is the best chance. The 4 Zaka sisters made joyful sounds together. The dragon roar wave first rushed to the top of the sky, and then began to accelerate constantly. Dragon roar wave, maximum output. The 4-color spiral turned in a beautiful and wild posture. 100,000 revolutions per second, 200,000 revolutions per second. With full enthusiasm, love for Yun-shi and absolute trust in him, Zaka sisters began their strongest preparation. The Dragon Roar Wave, which has been constantly carrying out high-speed impact, has entered the power storage mode for the first time. It is the strongest blow and fiercest Dragon Roar Wave. Yun-shi, in the state of black wings, responded to the voices of the Zaka sisters and also raised the star wings in his hand. A sword style that didn't belong to his memory began to build and take shape. Perhaps, this is not a sword style, but a declaration, a ceremony. A ceremony to completely end the fate of the stars. Wearing an emerald mask, the original dragon reached out and rubbed the green hair clusters on her head, and then played the green giant sword that had begun to take shape. The slender fingers, like weaving some rules, erased all the runes engraved on the green giant sword, and then began to write again. Chapter 832, Her Name, Part 2. That is a higher level, a more powerful and profound text than the previous multiple enchantments. At the same time, it is also a ceremony to give the original god weapon its real name. The giant sword, which was originally green all over, began to have other colors. A part of the hilt turned into a black keelguard, with a golden dragon flame wrapped around the hilt, releasing the unique breath of the original giant dragon. The body of the sword is made of huge dragon teeth. You can hardly see the blade. Because this sword doesn't need to use the blade to tear the enemy's body. The power of the sword itself can sweep everything. The pale gold lines are distributed from the end of the hilt to the tip of the sword. They are about 1.8 meters long and 0.4 meters wide. From the initially huge to unimaginable sword shadow, they have become the fog really held in the hands of the original dragon. On the body of the sword, a dragon language inscription unique to the dragon clan emerges, which is the real name of the dragon bone demon sword given by the original giant dragon. This sword is. Yun-shi, who is about to swing a sword that will let the stars fall, was completely stunned. Such a sword, once seen, will never be forgotten. Even from the sound of the sword reverberating on the sword, Yun-shi heard the ancient sound of the dragon. The curse of the Dragon Emperor, who holds this sword, will receive the eternal gaze of the Nightmare Dragon Emperor. Only the strongest hero is qualified to hold this demon sword. Only those who can face the gaze of the Dragon Emperor can wave this demon sword. That is the pride of the dragon nationality, the self-esteem of the Dragon Emperor, and the highest fantasy god weapon. Only girls with the same ancient and supreme blood can remember this name and even summon the power of the Dragon Emperor, who has long been one of the nightmare monarchs. Across space-time and the barrier between nightmares and reality, the nightmare monarch floating in the endless dark void opened his long muddy eyes and gazed at the battlefield of another world. This sword, with the power comparable to the Star Wings now, is one of the strongest god weapons in the entire Endless Gods domains and the will embodiment of the Nightmare King. The person who holding this sword brought Yun-shi the biggest shock. With the appearance of this sword, the emerald mask on the original dragon's face began to fragment a little, revealing the familiar pretty face of Yun-shi under the mask. Like summer sunshine. The queen who will never disappear. Like a dream, the snow-white face was filled with a smile that made Yun-shi intoxicated. "Mom!" Desert Dragon Zaka shouted happily, while all the sand eyes danced out, locking onto her figure. "You finally woke up." Ice Dragon Zaka summoned the max amount of ice mirror arrays, reflecting hundreds of millions of rays of brilliance. "Take our strongest blow." Red Dragon Zaka had no regrets, and the Crimson Dragon Roar Wave had spread unrestricted. "Good morning, Mom." Black Dragon Zaka smiled sweetly. She finally saw her mother, the gentle outline in her dream. At the same time, she also had a premonition of her disappearance. Zakas are the children conceived in the dreams of the original dragon. The moment when the original dragons wake up is when they disappear. They return from dust to dust, from earth to earth, from soul to soul, returning to their mother's embrace. So, this is the last Dragon Roar Wave. Without hesitation, the final Dragon Roar Shockwave. Why is it you? From summoning the Black Star Wings and the original dragon into the final battle, The vague premonition has come true. That kind of sword was so familiar, so kind. It should be said that it was you. The eternal summer queen in his memory, the one he loves, the one he must overcome now. First love. The most talented swordsman. No one can match his childhood sweetheart. The original dragon, also Yunshi's childhood sweetheart, slowly raised her head and looked at Yunshi. Those kind of eyes, those movements, how it makes people's hearts beat faster. Did she see it? Well, there is no doubt that she was looking at Yunshi with triumphant and elated eyes. Is she talking about something? Yunshi, who had been unable to stop, looked at her blankly and at a loss. It should have been discovered earlier. Desert Dragon Zaka has her wayward and wild side. Ice Dragon Zaka has her wise and calm side. Red Dragon Zaka has her passionate side. Black Dragon Zaka has her profound side. Moreover, no matter which Zaka, he has an inexplicable sense of intimacy. It seems that they have never been his enemies. Meet Desert Dragon Zaka in the crowd. Ice Dragon Zaka's initial resistance and final tenderness. He couldn't turn his back on Red Dragon Zaka. He couldn't leave the greedy Black Dragon Zaka alone. Ah, I see. The 4 Zaka sisters have given him a heart attack. It turned out that it was predestined. Their love with him, in fact, was her love with him, in such an incredible and wonderful way. Between heaven and earth, the rotation speed of the dragon roar wave has reached the maximum. 1 million revolutions per second. The power of the spiral shows a hegemony that eclipses the world, which is the strongest and the last dragon roar wave so far. Farewell from the 4 Zaka sisters. The girl held the god weapon cast by herself with both hands and made an offensive gesture towards the boy. The sword body of Dragon Bone Demon Sword was wrapped with a breath that made the world tremble. The girl responded to the challenge of the teenager. As long as she wants, she can certainly achieve it. What she wants is truth. This is the power of the sky-flying blood to surpass the worldly legal principles. The black sword mark is the sound of announcing the end of the world and the prelude to the collapse of the world. The golden scar of the sword is the voice that announces the liberation of the sky-flying bloodline and transcends the legal principle above the world. The 2 sword scars constantly crisscross, rotate, up and down, and involve the world in chaos. Up, down, left, right, east, south, west, north. Everything is chaotic. The world itself has returned to its original state, the initial time of chaos. The next second, the dragon roar wave of 4 Zaka sisters became the decisive force, and the dragon roar wave, which reached 1 million rotation speed per second, fell from the sky and bombarded the original dragon's sword accurately. The 2 swords that were originally entangled decided the outcome at this moment. The girl grabbed 4 Zaka sisters, and then they were swallowed by the black sword marks. Finally, she showed a slightly shy expression to Yunshi, her small face flushed, as if she had seen something wonderful from the memories of Zaka sisters. Good night, Hua Hu. Yunshi said the girl's name and also decided the fate of the world. Chapter 833, The Engagement of the Twin Witches. It's over. Yunshi put down the black star wings in his hand. His empty pupils were full of relaxed expressions. When he finally determined that his opponent was Hua Hu, he could hardly think of any way to defeat his invincible childhood sweetheart. Yes, he just couldn't think of a way. His invincible childhood sweetheart left a deep impression on Yunshi. If it weren't for the last strike that broke the balance, it would be him who lost. Even so, Yunshi didn't think he really won Hua Hu. What he won was the original dragon who just woke up from sleep in the world. The original dragon is the original dragon, and Hua Hu is Hua Hu. Although the 2 were finally proved to be one person, the original dragon should be just a dream of Hua Hu. Is this a pleasant dream or a horrendous nightmare for Hua Hu? No, it's not over yet. White Lotus looked at the gold balance that had been completely tilted in her hand and put on the ring of stars and moon. Yes, the world has not been redeemed. Red Lotus looked murderously at Yunshi, who didn't know what was going on. Hey! Yunshi looked at the little green flowers on his chest, the last blessing left by LVJI. At the moment, this little flower was trying its best to release its last glory and block the invasion of some force. Of course. It's not over. Call me. Deadly whispers echoed in Yunshi's ears, and more black feathers floated between heaven and earth. More trouble than the original dragon. This is only the beginning. Where these black feathers fell, all the forces of the world began to collapse, which enabled Yunshi to overcome the power of the original dragon, and also the power that led to the collapse of the stars. It is not satisfied with just the fruit of defeating the original dragon. It needs more sacrifices. It is devouring the stars. Wait. Stop. Yunshi looked at the black feather that was constantly eroding the world with astonishment. It was different from Black Dragon Zaka, who just ate the power of the world. It was really the ultimate power that made the world fall into. No. I want to eat. Opposite the door, a thin hand stretched out, but the snow-white hand gave Yunshi a taboo breath that was more dangerous than the ancient god. What the ancient god needs is crazy desire, impulse, and degeneration, while the owner of this snow-white hand likes eating the stars. Yunshi, who summoned the black wings, was stunned to find that although he had solved the original dragon's threat to the world, he'd caused a greater crisis. Moreover, this time it was his own mistake, and he didn't even have a chance to save it. Prince, my lovely prince. White Lotus hummed a love song representing beautiful love and looked at Yunshi with soft and moist eyes. Take it out, the treasure that can save the world. No, forget it. Just let us alone to save the world. Red Lotus's face looked very bad. There's no such thing. Yunshi looked at the more and more black feathers around him, and the little hand that seemed to grasp him and pull him into another world, showing an expression of tears. Now, he even ran out of the battle god's seed in his body. If there was that treasure, he would use it in the final battle with the original dragon. Now, what can he do to deal with the owner of the black wings? With bread? No, there is. White Lotus smiled gently. There is no such thing. Go to hell. Red Lotus's expression was getting worse and worse. That's a very, very important contract, remember? White Lotus picked up the golden balance in front of her, hope that can be used to save everything at the end of the world. You are the culprit that caused the end of the world. Red Lotus shouted out the truth to the world. Contract. Is it? Yunshi took out a document that he carried on his arms with difficulty. It was an agreement made by the past king and the sacred witches who commanded the people of the southern tribes. The only person recognized by the world, the person that can marry the holy witch. Yes, that's it. White Lotus smiled with incomparable sweetness. This was the end she was waiting for. No, don't come. Red Lotus looked at the contract and was going crazy. The world returned to chaos. White Lotus lifted up the golden balance in her hand and put the owner of the black wings to the side of the balance. On the other side, there were the twin witches hand in hand and the stunned Prince Yunshi. The country has disappeared, and even the concept of the world has become ambiguous because of the battle between the owner of the black wings and the original dragon. For the owner of black wings, this world in chaos is probably a delicious dessert, which is no different from newly peeled eggs. And Yunshi's body, or the star wings, is the coordinate of the owner of the black wings. It's an invitation to invite her to enjoy this delicious food. She is not the one who will restrain her desire to devour the stars. Now, as the holy twin witch, the world will usher in a new life. Pulling her resisting sister, White Lotus came to Yunshi with pride and took away the witch marriage contract in his hand. I, White Lotus, am willing to swear with this person here to become the origin, the supreme, and the hope of the world. Writing her name neatly on the only valid engagement book for witches, and White Lotus's smile was incomparably bright. No, I won't marry this kind of playboy. Red Lotus, who had been observing the chaotic relationship between Yunshi and the four Zaka sisters, filed a complaint against Yunshi. Well, in fact, Yunshi looked at Red Lotus embarrassingly. He really didn't have any bad ideas about the holy twin witches. It doesn't matter, sister, I'll create the world with the prince alone. White Lotus covered her mouth and giggled. What shall I do if you marry him? Red Lotus went furious. She and White Lotus are inseparable twins, together even in death. White Lotus dates Yunxi, and she also has to date Yunxi passively. When White Lotus and Yunxi get married, she also has to watch. Even the wedding night of White Lotus and Yunxi. This is the existence posture of the twin witches. She never thought that White Lotus would marry someone one day. Of course, forgive us. White Lotus smiled like a child. Drops of cold sweat fell down from Yunxi's forehead. Chapter 834. New story. No, I won't allow it. The aggrieved Red Lotus waved her Red Lotus demon sword in anger. Prince, we are the only ones left in this world. White Lotus gently looked at Yunxi with an embarrassed face. She was right. The whole world had degenerated into the initial chaotic state and was exposed to some extremely dangerous existence. At the beginning of the world, there were only the witches and the prince left in the unknown world. Yunxi suddenly found that he seemed to have heard such a story. That's a story about the origin of the world. No, White Lotus. This is a nightmare. It must be a nightmare. Red Lotus looked at White Lotus, who had begun to stretch out her little hand and held it tightly with Yunxi, and refused to believe it. This may be a dream, but it must be the highest and best dream. White Lotus, far bolder than her sister in love, kissed Yunxi's lips. No. The scream of Red Lotus echoed in the world, but it could not stop her sister's willfulness. Yes, compared to Red Lotus, who seems to be hot-tempered, White Lotus was actually the most willful one. Her heart, very pure, doesn't contain any implications, like a blank paper. Her love is also very pure. Once it starts, it cannot end. Kissing Yunxi's lips, White Lotus and Red Lotus released divine brilliance, and the golden balance began to make the final correction to the balance of the world. Is it death or rebirth? Just like the battle between Yunxi and the original dragon, the twin witches turned themselves into chips and stood at the same end of the scale as Yunxi. This is. The owner of the black wings, who was about to eat the world, made a surprised sound. Woo, I hate you, you bastard. Although she hated Yunxi, Red Lotus finally chose to write her name on the damn contract. It's definitely not her own will, but there's no way. If she doesn't write her name on this damn engagement book, she won't be able to be with her sister in the judgment of the golden balance. It is unacceptable to marry such a playboy. However, she couldn't accept the loss of her sister. White Lotus, for Red Lotus, is more important than anything. On the golden scale, the divine brilliance suddenly shined, and the outline of the whole world began to become clear. Once completely overwhelmed by black feathers, the balance began to tilt towards Yunxi because of the participation of the twin witches. This represents the original god weapon from the era of gods, and it is determined that the twin witches and Yunxi can defeat the black feathers that invade the world. Their world with Yunxi shows the potential to offset these black feathers. The black feathers disappeared one by one, and the green flower, which has been resisting the erosion of the black feathers on Yunxi, finally completed its mission, turned into light spots with a smile, and released its last blessing. Parfu. Little Parfu absorbed the last strength of the flower that had always protected Yunxi, and its body became more crystal clear. Prince, what kind of world do you want? Is it a world where only women and you can live happily? White Lotus stroked Yunxi's cheek and looked at him with a smile. It's really abnormal, bastard, who wants such a world? Red Lotus's eyebrows raised in anger. What a distorted world it is. No, just the ordinary world. Yunxi quickly began to make a wish. If this wish can come true, with magic and knights, people can live an ordinary life, and there is no need to fight against the evil dragon. As you wish, an ordinary, hopeful world. White Lotus's fingertips began to weave words, which was the right given to her by the world. Well, as the founding god of this world, it's natural to add a little bit of other things into it. The old world is coming to an end, and then there is a new world. It is also the beginning of a new world after the end of the old world. Also, a new chapter of the story. The girl's voice began to echo in every corner of the world. That is also a story told by a girl in love. A long time ago. The world was destroyed. Probably, 1,000 years after the demise of the ancient kingdom of Assyria, the terrible dragon woke up from sleep, her wings covered the world, and her anger ignited the world. Her name is the original dragon, which ends the old world and causes the disaster of extinction. In a world that lost hope and went to ruin, there was a prince who gambled everything on himself to save the world. He lost his father. He lost his kingdom. He went through ups and downs, stepped into the tower representing the last hope of the world, and obtained the precious secret treasure of the dragon. Finally, he defeated the invincible dragon. Looking back around, the world is full of barbarians, and as black wings fall, announcing the demise of the old world. However, it doesn't matter. The world will always find a way out and life will always strive to continue. According to the old agreement, the beautiful and pure twin witches married the lonely prince and will accompany him and become his lover from today on. This is the story of the twin princesses and the prince who saved the world. A long time ago, there was an ancient myth that was passed around about the creation of this world. People would be curious about the disappearing ancient civilization, and full of respect for the prince in the story. In front of all churches, statues of twin witches and the prince would inevitably be erected. The beautiful witch dressed in red witch clothes would be praised as the goddess of victory, holding the sword. Her sword symbolizes victory and strength. It is the god of war that all knights believe in. The beautiful witch dressed in white witch clothes would be praised as the goddess of wisdom in charge of books and knowledge. The books in her hand symbolize wisdom and mystery, and she is the god of wisdom believed by all spellcasters. The prince loved by the twin goddesses would represent all the supreme will and symbolize eternity. This would also be the story of the first year of the new kingdom after the destruction of the kingdom of Assyria 1,000 years ago. A beautiful and romantic ending. Chapter 835, Legend. A long time ago, or a long time later. She walks in the clouds, surrounded by the twin witches holding hands. No matter how time went by, White Lotus's smile seemed to never change. It had always been so simple and pure. Well, relatively speaking, Red Lotus's eyes were as ferocious as ever, and it seemed that it was the kind of people who wanted to eat Yunshi. With each step, Yunshi could see different scenery. Under the towering trees, the quiet village was filled with a faint smell of grass, and the lush forest was blown by the light wind, sending out a rustling whisper. In the air, there were magical creatures that could be seen by the naked eye, dancing in the golden sun. They were the relatives of the twin goddesses and the elves loved by the world. The green branches sprinkled with dew drops. In the shadow under the shade of the tree, the fern leaves with ancient lines emitted a soft light, like a silver brocade. On the leaves of the grass unfolding under the sun, and on the new buds of the vibrant wheat, drops of dew trembled like small glass beads strung on the line. What blows from the west only blows it down, and the water drops scatter, flashing with the color of the rainbow, reflecting the golden brilliance. Beside the village, there was a farm horse standing in the river, knee-high, lazily shaking its wet tail. From time to time, big fish float from the bottom of the river, spit out strings of foam, and then turn over and continue to travel back to the bottom of the river. The sun rising from the horizon radiated charming golden red light, dyed large clouds in the sky, and covered the plains and villages bathed in the sunrise with a dreamlike veil. The scenery on the horizon changed constantly, and finally came to the seaside. The scenery of the sky also changed. Yunshi crossed the dividing line between day and night and came to night. The moonlight shone on the seashore, and the number of stars in the sky was amazing. The dim starlight stretches into a starry river in the night sky, and the waves on the sea flicker. He can't see where the junction of the sea and the sky is, and the mystery of dark blue and white spreads. An ancient city stood by the sea, and the city wall exuded the breath of vicissitudes. Looking carefully, there was not only one city wall here, but after being expanded several times, it formed a ring area of up to 6 floors. The center of the city is the beginning of legends and the origin of human intellectual civilization. The beautiful twin goddess, and the statue of the highest god who created the world. This is really a wonderful feeling. Looking at the image of himself being carved into a statue, and the twin witches around him have become the gods of the world, Yunshi always felt that all this was too incredible. He didn't expect the end of the world to be like this. Dawn is coming. At the end of the sea level, a round of sun jumped out of the sea level happily. A light flashed across the sea and dyed the foaming waves golden. For thousands of years, but only in a flash, Yunshi witnessed the chaos of the world and the scene of twin witches giving the flame of wisdom to mankind. He, together with the twin witches, became the myth of the world and was praised by countless people. In this process, countless light spots filled his body and endless brilliant colors appeared in his soul. Like him, the twin witches obtained part of these light spots. Yunshi soon understood that this was the reward of the Dragon War trial. The ultimate reward of this trial is not God, weapon or soul, but the faith born in the world. The great will of the stars, rewarded to Yunshi and the twin witches, is the perception of creating the world and the scenery that only creatures who become gods can see. After repeated countless times, people will believe the lie. The creation myth of him and the twin witches will be sublimated into faith after being preached countless times. In his ears, people chant praises to him, which is the praise of the highest God in the world. Everything rises to welcome you. Praise you, the only light, you will rise to the top of the sky in this world. You rise, shine, and take away all the earth and darkness. You are the King of gods and the Lord of all things. Everything comes because of you and becomes sacred because of you. From your wings, the colors of the sky and the sea are flashing. The holy temple is honored by your name, and you will become a legend in the legend. We come from you and become holy because of you. You will wear your holy crown upon you and be crowned king. You are the source of all life. Time rolls up dust under your feet, and you will never change. You have crossed the river of time. You have surpassed time. Praise you, my Lord, your life will wake up from sleep. Thousands of years later, you are still immortal and come back to this world. Yunshi has heard similar hymns, which were sent by the three highest priests of the water god, and the hymn of this world was born for him. This is an epic praising the sun, and this is the belief in Yunshi. It is clear that Yunshi has not even reached hero rank, but he has obtained a trace of the divine power of the sun god, and as part of the sun god's personality. People in this world regard Yunshi as the sun, the supreme will to dominate all creatures, and the twin goddesses as the stars and the moon, symbolizing the principle of world circulation. Under normal conditions, this would be absolutely impossible. How can the soul of mortals be the personality of the sun god? Even a trace of divine power can burn millions of mortals to ashes. Let alone mortals, even great heroes cannot hold such things. Divinity and personality are the privileges of gods. Only creatures who step into the legend rank are qualified to bear that power. Similarly, the position of the moon and stars is not something that normal witches can bear. It is an unbearable weight of life. But in this world, everything is possible. This is the reward given to Yun 11 by the will of the stars, which opens a door for him. The twin witches also become glory because of Yunshi. The passage of thousands of years may only be a short time for Yunshi and the twin witches, but it is a long time for the majority of this world. Yunshi didn't think but watched the changes in the world. The twin witches occasionally interfered with the history of the world. He and they became myths, stories, and legends. This is one of the mysteries of the legend rank. Chapter 836, Epic PS. I uploaded Chapter 836 on the page of Chapter 835. Corrected. Listening to people's voices, Yunshi smiled. On the land beside the village, there was the sound of hard-working farmers digging and planting seeds. May the great sun god bless you. This year is also a good year. My little grandson's tuition relies on the harvest this year. By the sea, there was the sound of sailors running on the deck when they began to set sail at dawn. Quick, quick, adjust the position of the mainsail. Grape pellet, is grape pellet ready? Damn it, someone is lazily drinking. Go down and catch all those bastards. The twin goddesses. If they don't get up again, I'll let feed them to the fish in the sea. In the king's city, There are girls in the choir chanting the voice of gods, or epics that extol the deeds of gods. A long time ago. No, maybe a long time later. Probably 1,000 years after the demise of the ancient kingdom of Assyria. No, the first year of the establishment of the new kingdom. There was a prince who met the person he loved. As the prince grew older, it is time for him to get married. He was distressed because he loved more than one girl. So, he began to worry and confide his heart to the girls who might become his bride. The first bride, who was the first bride to make an agreement with him, was the queen of the ancient royal family. The queen was proud and beautiful. The queen was clever and kind. The queen's country, from the distant world, was called Assyria. My queen, answer me, will you be my princess? I would like to be your princess. With you. The queen told the prince her answer. The first princess was the princess of Assyria. Then the prince found the second object of the engagement. She was the child of the queen. As a doll, but she had her self-awareness. Princess, do you want to be the prince's wife? Put on the most beautiful clothes and gorgeous jewelry for you. You are the best princess in the world, and you are the little princess loved by the prince. You are the princess consort of the prince. Well, I love Dad. Marry Dad. The girls enviously sang the answer of the second princess, which was the hymn of the gods, the story of the mythical age. No one thought there was any problem with the answer of the first princess and the second princess, because they were loved by God. That was the era when God was still a prince, and gods were allowed to do whatever they wanted. In this way, the prince married the second princess, Princess White Moon. And from here, the myth began to enter the climax stage. The princess from the desert was angry because the prince didn't wait for her to come back, but returned to his hometown because he was going to get married. She rushed to the wedding scene and asked loudly why he didn't come back. The prince tried to comfort the princess from the desert and fight with her. The brilliance of the star wings shone, and the golden red sword light once again hit the star of the sand, and also hit the girl's heart. Finally, the two people in the center of the desert hugged and kissed together. The princess from the desert said that if the prince was willing to build the most gorgeous and dazzling palace for her, she would recognize the prince's love and marry him. So the third bride also came to the prince. She was the third princess of the prince. Princess Zaka from the desert. Girls chanting ancient fairy tales, their eyes shining, applauding the brave third princess, blushing and beating for her brave heart. Even gods could stop girls from falling in love. The story continued. Then the prince met the mysterious and dangerous snow princess. She had long hair and magical eyes. She hated the prince very much. Because the prince took away her most important sister and separated her from her sister. The prince was moved by the girl and bravely proposed to the girl who could not agree to him. What happened? She actually agreed. Of course, she would agree. Because God has a mind that can tolerate everything, and even his enemies can be moved by him. Never let worm like you insult my sister's body. I married you to protect my sister. As long as I'm here one day, you don't want to touch my sister's finger. Well, we all know the ending. This is really a happy and sweet love story. On that day, the prince married 4 brides with different personalities and wonderful relationships. However, the story was not over yet. The 5th princess was the red dragon princess roaring in the sky. She danced in the sky, and her roar could destroy the world. She said to the prince, "Don't come near me. Even if I die, I won't allow you to desecrate my body. I want to avenge my sisters. Human beings are unbelievable." Ah, how cute. As we all know, you won't believe in human beings, but you will like the prince. Because it was a doomed love, the eulogized red dragon princess. When darkness came, the apocalyptic incarnation of the old world and the world-devouring dragon appeared. Betrayers deserve to die, she said. The prince and the red dragon princess began to advance in the last tower of hope of mankind. At each level, the prince would gain different abilities. On the first floor, the prince found the 3rd princess. On the second floor, the prince found the 4th princess. On the 3rd floor, the prince received the blessing of the 1st and 2nd princesses. On the 4th floor, The prince once again faces the world-devouring dragon. The prince smiled at the dragon and waited for her answer. "Are you happy with this man?" asked the dragon to her 3 sisters. "This person is my most important person. My mother is angry. He is a big playboy." So the 6th princess also came to the prince. The twin goddesses witnessed the prince's love, and the prince and his concubines met the original dragon who woke up from her sleep. The wings of the dragon covered the world. The dragon's sharp blade tore the sky. Even so, the prince defeated the strongest original dragon. Finally, the prince married the twin goddesses and created our world. No matter how many times Yunshi listened to it, he felt that this story was too shameful and ridiculous. However, for people in this world, this is their epic, and everyone believes in this story. Once a lie, now it has become true, and it has become something to be praised. This is the story of this world, the epic of the gods. Chapter 837, Return on the Altar. Yunshi looked back at his trial. He was too embarrassed to look directly at what he had done. "Maya, isn't this strange? Why will it become the ending of me being the sun god?" Even if the story comes to an end, Yunshi still doubts whether there is any conspiracy in it. "Isn't this a happy ending, master?" Maya's eyes were a little dodgy. Looking at the twin goddess who finally accompanied Yunshi to the end, she had a strange smile of hey hey. "Maya, what about the star wings?" Yunshi asked again. Speaking of the biggest reward of this dragon war trial, in fact, it is not a trace of divinity, legendary rank, of the sun god at the final settlement, but the ultimate god weapon, the star wings. Anyway, this is not a weapon he can use at this stage. Every time he uses it, it will attract the mysterious existence's attention. The sun wings that can burn a world. The green wings of endless life. The black wings that can swallow stars. Among them, only the second green wings are gentle and harmless, while the first and third wings have problems. When the black feathers fell, the world almost became food and was eaten by the owner of the black wings. If it weren't for the golden balance of the twin witches who pushed back the black wings on the other side of the door, it would be an irreparable ending. How could this weapon appear in the only third trial? There is no problem in putting the star wings in the 99th ultimate trial as the final reward. This is the ultimate magic sword in the memory of the stars. Yunshi finally knew the danger of this divine sword. He has no doubt that if the star wings' power is released in the real world, it will bring the same disaster. The owner of the black wings is a monster more terrifying than the original dragon. And the star wings, a monster who can incarnate into something indescribable, may not be the only one. Yunshi, who once thought that the star wings was a divine sword, now knows that he was very wrong. "Master, those are your wings." Maya said serious nonsense. "As long as you become stronger, you can control this sword. This is the great will of the stars. It's the best god weapon for you." Yunshi gave a wry smile, but he couldn't deny Maya's answer. Yes, the star wings is extremely dangerous, but it can also reverse everything, the trump card of the trumps. It is impossible for him to abandon the star wings now. Then, just as Maya said, let himself continue to become strong enough to deserve the strongest sword representing the future. If he can get the power of all the wings in the sword, he may have a way to escape from the terrifying pursuit of his 4 ex-girlfriends. At least, he can see a glimmer of hope. Return. After settling all the gains and convinced that the trace of the sun god was integrated into his body, Yunshi closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, he saw 3 little dogs, Star Thunder, Starfire, and Star Snow, lying safely beside me. In the air, there was a familiar smell. Thousands of years have passed in the trial world, but in the White Lotus Sword domain, it is just a night's time. Pushing the window open, Yunshi saw the last darkness before dawn, and only 1 star was quietly shining. "Even if there is impermanent darkness in front of me, I will break it for you." "Hua Hu, how are you?" White Lotus Sword Palace, the other side. Hua Hu wiped her Tyrannosaurus sword, and her eyes were full of confusion. Beside her, there were 4 light spots floating, showing yellow, blue, red, and black respectively. She had a dream, a strange, seemingly chaotic, but fiery dream. In her dream, she sometimes incarnated as a princess in the desert, falling in love with a prince. Sometimes she was the princess of the northern icefield and married the prince. Sometimes she was the red dragon princess, who was flying in the sky and in love with the prince. Sometimes she was the silent black dragon princess who was spoiled by the prince. The 4 princesses were all her, but none of them was her, but the only thing in common was that they all fell in love with a prince. So, the question is, who is the prince? Who else will it be? Naturally, it's her little she. No matter what others think, she thinks little she is her unique prince in her eyes. The problem was that there seemed to be other things happening in the dream, but she couldn't remember what happened. For her, this dream seems to be an incredible spring dream full of sweet feelings. Well, in her dream, she seems to have learned various postures by doing this and that with Yoon she many times. Even now, the burning gasp and the overlapping stimulation of the body are still extremely clear. For different women had 4 different relationships with little she, and each of which made Hua Hu blush and increased her heartbeat. Recalling this strange dream, her cheeks suddenly turned red. In her dream, she was so bold that she even took the initiative to sneak into little she's room at night. No, there were also times when little she sneaked into her room at night. Hey. With a flick of the Tyrannosaurus sword in her hand, Hua Hu made a decision. Cast again. In order to commemorate this wonderful dream, she wanted to cast all 4 selves in the dream. Well, in her dream, she seems to have evolved into 4 different selves, namely Zaka, with the 4 forces of dust, ice, fire, and darkness as the core. Then, in reality, she could do the same thing. Because she is a girl who has the power of flying in the sky. In front of her will, even the rules of reality will be distorted. All the impossible things are not impossible for her. As long as she wants, she can certainly achieve it. What she wants is truth. This is the power of Tianxiang's blood to surpass the worldly legal principles. At this moment, the 4 light spots floating around her were the rudiments of the 4 Zaka sisters. Even if they only existed in dreams, as long as Hua Hu thought they could exist, they would be truly born in the real world. Chapter 838, Resurrected Zaka's Desert Dragon Zaka is wild and impulsive. Ice Dragon Zaka is calm and venomous. Red Dragon Zaka is passionate. Black Dragon Zaka is speechless and mysterious. Hua Hu likes these children. They are all part of her, but they are different in their loveliness. From their perspective, enjoy the different love scenes with little she. This dream is so wonderful for Hua Hu that she wants to bring these lovely Zakas out in the real world. No normal person would think about such a thing. For human beings, dreams are an unpredictable, mysterious world, a world full of strange scenery. Most people will forget everything that happened in their dreams in a few minutes after waking up, let alone trace the authenticity of the dream world. However, Hua Hu is not a normal person. She has a way to realize any absurd thing. Waiting for Yoon she to grow up and want to marry him. Create different selves in dreams and endow them with the concept of existence. The girl who has the power of flying in the sky is so willful. They are part of the god weapon. Trying to recall the settings of the Zaka 4 sisters in the dream, Hua Hu turned her eyes to the Tyrannosaurus sword in her hand. This demon sword seemed to feel that something bad was going on, and quickly sent out a powerful sword sound to remind his master that this was a super god weapon that could destroy the sky and the earth. It doesn't matter. You won't lose a piece of meat. I'll just disassemble you. Hua Hu, with a natural expression on her face, stretched out her hand. If the sword can speak, it must give a grief cry, no. Unfortunately, it has no right to say no to Hua Hu. Hua Hu disassembled all parts of the dragon sword and began to transform it. The fantasy god weapon, which originally existed only in the dream world, began to take shape little by little. The sword, which once represented the curse of the Dragon Emperor, was completely changed before it could kill any enemy. Dominating the 4 suspended light spots, Huahua's fingertips constantly hit the body of the Tyrannosaurus sword, adjusting and weaving the shape of the dragon god weapon. Each time it was struck, the Tyrannosaurus sword would emit the sound of the aggrieved sword, but it couldn't stop the will of its owner. Huahua found back the Tyrannosaurus sword that once disappeared in the long river of history. Naturally, she had a way to refit the sword again. Sand, dust, ice, flames, dark. These attributes that could not have appeared on a god weapon were forged into 4 different treasure beads by Huahua. Perhaps it is not as powerful as the sword in the Dragon War world, but Huahua did create 4 treasure beads with different original power. The original dragon, in fact, doesn't represent the current Huahua, but the future. 4 treasure beads were inlaid on the hilt of the Tyrannosaurus sword one by one, each one releasing different smells respectively. Originally, the 4 kinds of treatment beads that appeared in dreams gradually took shape in the real world. Yes, that's it. Huahua looked at the 4 treasure beads with satisfaction. Although they were slightly smaller, they all had what they should have. As long as there is enough time, the 4 treasure beads will truly incarnate into their appearances in the dream, and even can freely summon 4 Zakas. Now, Huahua held the completely changed Tyrannosaurus sword and released the breath of one of the treasure bears. Come out, Desert Dragon Zaka. A vague figure appeared in front of Huahua, about half her height. More or less, you could see the outline of Desert Dragon Zaka in the dream. It was just that it looked a little too small. It was probably only 8 or 9 years old. Well, that is it now. Huahua had a little regret. In the dream, Desert Dragon Zaka had a very nice body. When doing all kinds of things with little she, Desert Dragon Zaka was always full of curiosity. She was willing to try any posture, and he also enjoyed the time of falling in love with little she. Mother. Desert Dragon Zaka just appeared, and began to be coquettish to Huahua. Born from the dream world, she also holds some memories in her dreams, but for her, it is not a dream, but a reality. Well, that is to say, Huahua gave birth to the 3rd princess in the Dragon War world, Desert Dragon Zaka. The power of the original dragon was an extraordinary power that Huahua really held. It is one of the power of Huahua's sky-flying bloodline to cast her own god weapon. The power of sky-flying blood is so unreasonable, beyond common sense. Good. Now only you come out, and I need some time to cast your sisters. At this time, Huahua missed the time when she was the original dragon in her dream, which was probably her future mature body, that is, one of the postures after spreading her wings. Now she could only let Desert Dragon Zaka appear in her initial posture, that is, the young dragon stage. Well, I'll take good care of them. Desert Dragon Zaka shook her young body and looked at the new world with curious eyes. Compared with the world of Dragon War, this new world looks bigger and the atmosphere of the starry sky is more stable. The original dragon mother seems to have brought them to a new world. Then, Desert Dragon Zaka will continue to fulfill her mother's command of conquering the world. Zaka is fearless. Of course, there is another very important thing besides this. Is Prince, her lover, also in this new world? Mother, is the prince here too? For Desert Dragon Zaka, that world was not a dream, but a real reality. The boundary between illusion and reality was completely broken in front of Huahua's ability. The love between Desert Dragon Zaka and the prince may be a dream for Huahua, but it is a reality for Zaka. They fell in love with him, then fought side by side, and finally returned to their mother's arms together. Huahua, crossing the boundary between dream and reality, made the impossible become possible. At this moment, Desert Dragon Zaka is back to the original dragon mother. It is not the angry mother, but the great and gentle supreme dragon that gave birth to the 4 sisters. Of course, this is the future world. I also like him, and the world with him. You are all good children. Huahua smiled and held Desert Dragon Zaka, who represented her wild and impulsive side, in her arms. This time, I will give you a happy ending. Fight for me again, Zaka sisters. Chapter 839. Her wishes. The girl had a dream, a very old dream. Even she herself has forgotten that the time that disappeared in the long river of history, the country called Assyria, when she was a princess with extraordinary power from the beginning of her birth. The princess grew up day by day, inherited the throne of the queen, and became the queen of Assyria, blessed by people. She once thought she was the happiest person in the world, and she also hoped to share this happiness with others. At that time, she was simpler and kinder than anyone else. The world in her eyes was so vibrant that she firmly believed that she could lead this country to higher glory. She did it. The Millennium Kingdom, as people call it, was ruled by the Queen of Assyria. Except that she didn't find a dreamy lover, everything was as she wished. Until the blood moon came, she suffered the greatest betrayal, losing her life as a human being and her own country. Without the protection of the queen, the kingdom was destroyed on the night of the blood moon. All those who betrayed her also fell in a pool of blood. Only the will from the abyss stared at her. From that day on, she no longer trusted anyone. Wearing a bloody wedding dress, she lost hope for mankind. She wrote such a diary and told herself not to make the same mistake again. Things in the world can be seen at a glance as long as they are uncovered. They are all boring, unpleasant, and chaotic. How to describe this mood? I still can't give an answer today. After discovering it, I realized that I was a mean person. However, I hate being eliminated. If I can't be the most respected existence, it will be unbearable. After all, I hate losing. So even if I am ugly, filthy, and dirty, if I can't look down on sentient beings from a high place, I will lose the meaning of existence. I can't treat everyone equally and gently. I can't sincerely pray for the people who matter to me. I think it's good for important people to feel bad for me and cry for me. She no longer trusted anyone except herself. She no longer liked anyone, only liked others sad for her, crying, being played by her. Rather than love others, she prefers to be loved by others and eat others happily. The innocent and kind-hearted Queen of Assyria has long become such an indescribable thing. The memory of being human collapsed on the night when the blood moon came. Why do I dream like this? The girl lay on the throne of the giant spider, meditating, her bare snow-white feet swaying gently, and she frowned only in her green pajamas. Unlike the Queen of Assyria in the dream, she has long green hair in the real world, but her appearance is surprisingly similar to that of the Queen of Assyria in the dream world, probably the queen's appearance at the age of 12. At her fingertips, a small light spot was emitting a faint glow, which seemed to disappear anytime, anywhere. What are you? The girl touched this small light spot, and there came a gentle breath. However, no matter whether in her time as the Queen of Assyria or now, she has never had close contact with any man. As a human being, her bloodline, even her kingdom, had long been destroyed in the blood moon, and there was not even a survivor. So, where does this little dot of light come from? The answer is almost impossible. In my dream, can I get pregnant? Have a baby? The girl held this small light spot in her hands and always felt that she had forgotten some of the most important things in her dream. This incredible dream left her a child, who was favored by the power of ancient gods and was born a child of God. The feeling of blood connection can't be wrong. Open the door. After repeatedly confirming that this was not her illusion, the girl's eyes became gentle. She forgot a lot about what happened in the dream, but the child was in her palm now, and she could even feel the information left by herself in the dream. Create a body for this child. Her body must be the most perfect doll in the world. In addition, it is the material needed to create the body of the doll. Open the door. The girl closed her eyes and stepped into the beach between illusion and reality with this small light spot. On the golden beach, the lonely and cold guardian was also guarding in front of the door, as usual, today, in front of which were piles of ghost debris that couldn't see what they were. Welcome to the Sky Tower, the 10th Sky Sword. Lilibet, the guardian of the Sky Tower and the oldest Sky Sword in the Sky Sword God's domain, nodded gently to the girl. Shea Longness is the girl's real name. In the past, when she was human, she was also called the Queen of the Millennium. Sitting on a giant spider, Shea Longness found that she seemed to like this way of moving a little. Is this also the influence of that dream? As the Sky Sword, she naturally went directly to the altar without being limited by the number of trials, ignoring the restrictions of trials, and directly entered the world of the doll city. This is a world full of chaos and disorder. There are discarded, ragged dolls everywhere. Many of them are still wearing gorgeous clothes and brooches pinned with gemstones, but their eyes are all dead, which means that they are all failed works discarded by puppet masters. The puppet masters in the city of puppets are all paranoid and don't allow their works to have even the slightest flaw. The failed doll will all be discarded here. You are all the best puppet masters of the endless gods' domains. Sitting on the throne of the giant spider, Shea Longness the Sky Sword made a sound to the most reclusive puppet masters in the whole city, showing the light spot at her fingertips. Here, there is a task. I need a perfect doll body that fits my lovely daughter. Anyone who can complete this task can make a wish to me. In the name of Shea Longness the Sky Sword, as long as it is a wish that I can complete, it can be achieved. This is the material needed to make her body. The doll must be made with these materials. The higher the quality, the better. This sentence quickly caused a commotion in the doll city. Silent puppet masters are excited about the reward of Shea Longness the Sky Sword, but more puppet masters focus on the little light spot in Shea Longness' hand. That's how possible. Someone has completed the ultimate project. Chapter 840, Legend of the Doll City. Your Excellency the Sky Sword, can you show us your treasure? Several puppet masters wearing tuxedos and the masks of rabbits, werewolves, and foxes appeared beside Shea Longness the Sky Sword, looking at the small light spot flying in her palm with almost fanatical eyes. I am willing to pay all my family property to buy this treasure. No matter what treasures you want in the doll city, please give us this child. Yes, the Supreme Council of our doll city unanimously decided that all the treasures we have can be exchanged for this child. Shea Longness the Sky Sword frowned and looked at the puppet masters who were in a frenzy with puzzled eyes. In her impression, these strange puppet masters have never cared about treasures other than puppets. In the Seven Towers, these puppet masters are almost regarded as insane people. If it weren't for the incredible power of the puppets they made, they would have been excluded from the circle of the Seven Towers Alliance. It's my child, is there anything strange? Can't you make a body suitable for her? The rabbit, the werewolf and the fox looked at each other and found that each other's breathing became rapid. Of course we can. We have a lot of moonlight branches in stock. Well, obsidian, ruby, and eye lines are really works of art. If it's convenient, can you tell me which master made it? Looking at the doll formula provided by Shea Longness, the breath of some of the oldest puppet masters became more rapid. Not only they, but also the puppet masters living in seclusion in the city of puppets breathed rapid after seeing the doll formula. Soon, one after another purchase orders were put on the list of the Seven Towers, and the enthusiastic puppet masters began to rush to buy these materials. In less than a quarter of an hour, the inventory of moonlight branches in the entire Endless Gods domain was bought, but even so, it could not stop the enthusiasm of the puppet masters. More reward lists were hung up, and the prices were higher and higher, so that the mercenaries wandering in various gods' domains were gape-mouthed. God, when is the moonlight branch so valuable? Quick, quick, quick. Team up and go to the moonlight forest to cut trees. Wow, they want so many rubies. The higher the quality, the better. Let's go grab the red dragons. There is a newly discovered ruby vein over the volcanic area. It is said that there are many salamanders. Salamander? Even a male fiery dragon can't stop me. Let's kill them. For a time, the mercenaries of the Endless Gods domains were crazy. Capital, with 300% profit, can trample on all moral laws in the world. At the moment, the lists from puppet masters can give them more than 10 times the normal profit. Even moonlight branches grow mostly on elf's territory. Even if there must be ferocious fire magical beasts near the high-quality gem vein, and even giant dragons, it can't stop these bold mercenaries from going crazy. People die for money and birds die for food. The task lists from puppet masters successfully made groups of mercenaries start moving, just to earn that terrible wealth. Sometimes you can do whatever you want with money. In the doll city, Shea Longness didn't realize that the formula she gave and the small light spot turning around in her palm had led many mercenaries to the road of no return. It's so beautiful. The puppet master with a rabbit mask was drooling. The more he looked at the light spot on Shea Longness' fingertip, the more uncontrollable his heartbeat became. For thousands of years, or even longer, the doll city has never had such a beautiful soul. According to the truth, although souls rarely appear in the real world in the form of entities, puppet masters with countless resources can still trade them. The combination of souls and puppets to produce miraculous puppets is one of the highest masterpieces of the City of Puppets, and it is also the reason why the major forces of the Endless God's domain have to hold their noses and admit the existence of the doll city. The puppets created by the puppet masters have extremely powerful abilities, among which the Four-Death doll is a legendary prop that the major forces of the Endless God's domains will compete for at all costs. But this soul is different. When Shea Longness the Sky Sword brought this soul to Doll City, all puppet masters discovered the mystery contained in it. It is not the soul of any known intelligent creature, but the perfect doll soul woven by countless magical rules. This is actually true. The more the werewolf-masked puppet master observed the pure white soul, the more suffocated he became. The legend, it's true. The puppet master wearing the fox mask almost cried with joy. They witnessed a legend that has been spread in the doll city since ancient times, a legend about the perfect puppet. According to legend, the perfect doll has a pure mind, a body symbolizing the ultimate beauty, and a soul woven by 7 colors of light. What she represents is the ultimate pursuit of all puppet masters, which is flawless in both soul and body, and has the ultimate beauty that any intelligent creature will palpitate. It is the ultimate goal of all puppet masters to create such a doll. However, even if there is a way to create a perfect body, the way to weave a perfect soul is unknown to even those gods who are high above. This involves the highest level of law. Let alone weaving a perfect soul, the puppet master doesn't have any clue to create an ordinary soul. For this reason, many radical puppet masters have committed many grievous crimes, and some people have even been listed on the wanted list of the entire Endless God's domains.